Hello, everybody. I'm talking today with Paul Anthony Jones, who is the author of several books on trivia and language, including Around the World in 80 Words, The Cabinet of Linguistic Curiosities, The Accidental Dictionary, and Word Drops. He appears regularly in The Telegraph Online, on BBC Radio 4's World at One, BuzzFeed, Huffington Post, and Mental Floss, and he's contributed to The Guardian, Independent, and the Oxford and Cambridge Dictionaries Online. Paul has a master's in linguistics and is a language blogger from Newcastle upon Tyne. His obsession with words, I'm told, began with a child's dictionary he received as a Christmas present when he was 8 years old. He's on Twitter as Haggard Hawks, and he has tweeted obscure words since 2013 and now has a social media following of over 75,000, including the likes of J.K. Rowling, Robert Macfarlane, Susie Dent, Richard Osman, Greg Jenner, Ian Macmillan, Rufus Sewell, Simon Mayo, Michael Rosen, and Cerys Matthews, to name but a few. His website is haggardhawks.com, which brings together a blog, books, quizzes, and games, the 500 Words YouTube series, Instagram gallery, and a newsletter. Paul, after that fairly lengthy introduction, welcome to my blog, and thanks for agreeing to be interviewed.
My pleasure.
About your new book, which, as I say, I've now got a copy of, but obviously is back to front because of the wonders of modern technology. So welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. I've got a series of questions which I think you've already seen in advance, so you kind of know what I'm going to ask. I don't like to kind of spring too many surprises on people, but if you're happy, we'll kick off and go through the questions.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay. So I've been reading your new book, which I have to say, I kind of, every time I get one of your books, it blows me away a little bit because it's just got so much stuff in that I really feel I should know but don't. But this particular book is a wonderful collection of words to soothe the mind and unwind tension. The publication date, I think, is next week, which is to coincide with Mental Health Awareness Week. But it also seems to have come at a time that we're all under lockdown because of the coronavirus. And I think there are many words in here that relate to relationships and aspects of daily life. Do you think that someone reading your new book will find solace in these words?
I hope so, yeah. I mean, it's kind of, when I was writing it, I wrote it last year. I was kind of writing it sort of subjectively, kind of writing it just thinking, these are interesting things that might happen to people. And of course, now it's coming out, everybody's in the same situation. So it's kind of like, I've not engineered this, but it's odd timing, certainly. So hopefully that there are some words in there that that are going to bring a little bit of peace of mind, at least at the minute.
No, I agree. I think I found that really. So there's a word for that, and it is kind of even from some of the mundane. I think there's one for a Monday morning, Herkle-Dürkle.
Herkle-Dürkle, yeah. But Herkle-Dürkle to lounge around in bed when you should be up. That's kind of the story of my lockdown.
Well, I think a few of us as well. I've got a couple of dogs, so they don't let me sleep in bed for too long. I have to take them for a walk. But I certainly could have done that quite easily.
It's good to know I'm not alone, at least.
Yeah. I think it would probably be a bit cringeworthy to call you a man of many words. But I've got, I think, 4 of your books, including the latest one. But I think you've written, is it at least 8 now?
Yeah, this is the 8th, which is it's when you were reading all the stuff out at the beginning as well, I was kind of like, wow, when you kind of add it all up, it is quite a lot.
Yeah.
But 8 books now, which is mad.
Yeah, and I think all of them I've read the 4 that I've got. Every time I pick one up, there's a new word or a word that I'd forgotten that I've suddenly I've forgotten all about that. And I think there are so many that I never knew existed before. Now, obviously, you've spent a lot of time studying. You as I said in the intro, you've got a master's in linguistics. But I can't see any books behind you, but it feels like you should have a house full of dictionaries and thesauruses. And where do you find all these words from? And where does it start? Does it start with the words? Because a lot of these, the entries in your books come with so many fascinating stories about the word origins and so on. What comes first? Is it the stories or the words, or a bit of a mixture of both?
It's a bit of a mixture of them both. I should say, yeah, my bookcase is next door, but that room is just a hot mess. So there's no way that room's not getting on camera. Yeah, it kind of depends. Sometimes, like, I'll find an etymology story that I really like and that I really want to tell, and that'll kind of spark an idea for a larger set of words. So like the last book, which is Around the World, a few years ago I came across this word Stellenbosch, which was to kind of tactically demote someone, to give them a job that kind of takes them out of harm's way, but they can't complain that they've been demoted. And I love that story. I love that there was a word for that, and it comes from a place in South Africa where there was a military camp for horses, like war horses. So being taken off the front line and put in charge of the horses was like, you couldn't complain because it's a really important job, but you kind of have been sidelined slightly. And it's a great story. It's lovely that that word kind of exists, and it's got that kind of background to it. So in that case, that one idea kind of sparked the idea of stringing together all of these like geographical etymologies. But sometimes it works the other way, and I'll kind of get a larger idea and kind of go, right, I want to tell all of these stories, and then I'll kind of work backwards and kind of fill the blanks in from there.
Yeah, sure. Are there any that, you mentioned the one about looking after the horses. Are there particular ones that stick in your mind? That you kind of almost end up wanting to put them in every single book that you write, rather than...
That's a good point. And I think I have kind of gone over myself a couple of times and written chapters thinking, I'll tell this story, and then I'll go, oh, actually, I told this story a couple of years ago. Like, it's on the website or something. There's a story in this book that's just come out, which is the word sphexischness, which is kind of monotonous robotic behavior, and it comes from the name of a type of wasp. This is kind of in the 1980s, I think. And it's such a good story. I've wanted to kind of find a home for it for ages. So kind of coming up with a chapter that was all to do with breaking out of a routine and kind of making the most of kind of doing something on the spur of the moment. That seemed like a nice place to put it, but I can probably think I'm going to drop in on that one again at some point in the future.
No, I know the one you mean. It was because it sparks interest in me, because by training I'm a biologist. So anything that, you kind of think, and I mean a lot of the sort of I'm just trying to think of it was the one about the stork's feet, and how that relates to pedigree and the French translation and the lines in when you draw a family tree. And you kind of think, oh yeah, well, that makes perfect sense when it's explained, but you would never ever think about that as being, that kind of, those two things being related in that way.
Absolutely.
It's fascinating.
There's the best stories are always the ones that kind of take you in different directions. So like you say, the word pedigree has absolutely nothing to do with what a bird's feet, and then the only thing that links them together is looking at the history of the words, and it's kind of magic.
So you talk about the origins of Cabinet of Calm in the introduction to the book, and obviously it came at quite a difficult time for you, and I know personally those words chime with me for similar reasons, and I'm sure they will with many people. But has actually writing the book become a sort of catharticism for you in that way?
I think it definitely did. It was kind of like I explained in the dictionary, in the introduction to the book, that I lost both my parents within a really short space of time, and I'd kind of in the back of my head decided to take some time off. Like 7 books in 7 years is like a lot on top of the website and things. So then kind of dealing with all of that was kind of like just a little bit kind of too much. And then my publishers actually kind of suggested maybe taken kind of what's been going on for like the last year, kind of dealing with them both being poorly, and take what I'm kind of fascinated by and see if there's something that kind of brings the two together.
Yeah.
And I was mulling it over and kind of thinking, well, I was going to take some time off, but this is a really good idea. And I was randomly in town up here in Newcastle. I'd wandered into town not long after we'd lost my dad, and I was just kind of wandering around to clear my head. And I saw my dad's shirt hanging up in a clothes shop. And I went, oh, that's my dad's shirt. And then out of nowhere, it all kind of just came back, and I had to leave the shop. And I was like, this has kind of knocked me for six. And I can remember walking home after that thinking, there is a word for exactly what's just happened. And I'd kind of found it a couple of years earlier. I think I'd written a blog and posted it on Twitter kind of around 2015, 2016. It was a while ago that I kind of found it. And I can remember writing about it thinking, yeah, this is interesting, but I don't know what that feels like. I don't know what that is. Like, this is the dictionary definition of it, but I didn't know what, I didn't kind of know how to experience it. The word stound, which is like a pang of grief when a loss is kind of suddenly remembered. And it seemed to kind of chime with people at the time, but I was like, I didn't kind of know what it was in that respect. So kind of going through all of that, having that happen, and then go, oh, okay, actually, yeah, this is what this is. That was the sort of moment. And so that kind of made me say, yeah, actually, kind of knowing some of these really obscure words, it does actually kind of build your armory a little bit to deal with stuff. So in that sense, it kind of did become a bit of a catharsis to kind of explain how what I study and what I write about actually can, if you think about it the right way, kind of help you through kind of really horrible times.
No, I think it will, as I say, I think it will really chime with people when they read it, because a lot of people have got a similar experience, I think. And even if they haven't got that direct experience, when they get into the book and they start reading some of the words, I mean, there's so many in there that you kind of think, oh yeah, that I didn't know that's the word for that. I mean, I kind of think, is it bleak house and growlery?
Growlery, yeah.
Every house should have a growlery.
yeah. I think everyone's probably got one as well. Mine's my car. Like if I'm in a bad mood, car and just drive and put the world to rights on my own. That's that's the growlery for me. Yeah,
no, I definitely think I'm going to have to build an extension to get mine. But definitely need a growlery. Okay, so probably finally, this is a question I ask a lot of people when I meet them, particularly writers and authors and people who are involved in producing books. But what book or books have shaped or changed you? Perhaps ones you found particularly profound or were important to you at a particular time in your life?
The story that I always tell about this is, and it's such a predictable answer for me, but I was given a dictionary for Christmas when I was about 8 or 9 by my grandparents, and it was like the light bulb moment. It was it just kind of I was hooked. I sat and read it from cover to cover. It was a kid's dictionary, I should say. It wasn't like the OED, but I just loved it, and I read it from cover to cover and noted down words that I didn't know and looked up words that I came across in other books in there, and if they weren't in there, I'd go and look it up in a different dictionary. And I was like 9 when I was doing this, so that was the kind of thing that really kind of, I didn't know it at the time, but it kind of put me on the trajectory that I'm still on. So that was the real, I'd love to say that it was something cool that changed things, but no, it was literally
War and Peace.
Yeah, I'd love to pick something like that. Or my favorite book actually is Crime and Punishment, but I can't say that exactly changed my life. I just really enjoy reading it. The one that kind of really sorted me out was this big hardback full color kids dictionary. I loved it. I must still have it somewhere. It'll be in storage somewhere.
Yeah. So go on then. How many dictionaries do you actually own?
That's a good question, because I've got a bookcase next door that's like chock-a-block, and some of the shelves are now like double stacked. So there's like dictionaries behind other dictionaries. So it's probably getting on towards maybe treble figures now, which is a bit worrying. I should probably maybe purge that collection a little bit, but you know, I just can't get rid of them.
Yeah, well, that you know, for us who are, you know, reading your books, then we're probably going to say no, don't get rid of them. Just keep them coming and keep the books coming, because you know they are. I mean, I think it's difficult with to kind of put into words in some ways, just that kind of eye-opening, and it's probably a word for it, that you know, reading all those words and thinking, oh, you know, and the stories, as I say, that sit behind them, and you know where they break down in whether it's Greek or Latin or however.
Yeah,
it's just, you know, I think I can't remember which one it is, but I've got the one that one of the ones that I have is broken up over the days of the year, and I do use that as a kind of almost daily prompt. So open it on a particular, you know, that particular day, and just see what that word is, and you know.
It's because I love these word of the day calendars, and I've always wanted to do a book around that. So that was a fun book to write. It was a lot of work, writing each one in, but it's a nice way to kind of to kind of come up with something that you can just, rather than read cover to cover, you can just dip into when you want to.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. So dare I ask what's next? Are you going to take that break, or?
Do you know, I don't think I am. I think I'm probably going to go straight into something else. I've got a few ideas. I've been promising for ages to do, because one of my absolute favorite kind of types of words is eponyms, which is words derived from people's names. Yeah. And I've always wanted to do a kind of dictionary of those, like a dictionary come like biography of these people, like explain where the word comes from, but also kind of explain the life story as well of the person behind it. I'd love to do that, but the short list of entries that I've got for that is around about like 400. So I'd probably have to trim that down, or kind of figure out a way that I could kind of get that into a book that isn't going to take 10 years to write and 20 years to read, you know? So yeah, I'd love to do that, but lots of other ideas and stuff. I still really want to do like a quiz book or something. I think that'd go really well, because the quizzes and games and stuff on the Haggard Hawks website are even more popular than the blogs these days. You know, they're just kind of circled around. So yeah, maybe that. I don't know.
No, I think both, perhaps. You know,
well, I'll work on them at the same time.
Yeah. Paul, thank you ever so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Your book is published on the 14th of May, I believe. 14th,
yeah.
Is retails at $12.99, available from all good. Well, I was going to say all good bookshops, but perhaps it's all good online bookshops. Or
all good websites of good bookshops. Put it that way.
I'll put a link below, because there's a bookshop finder, so you can find your local bookshop. So I'll put a link below into the video when it goes live. But Paul, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks so much, Alan.
Okay. Right.